It's the end of a very short era for Colorado, as they're now dealing with life without Shedeur Sanders and without their Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. But Deion Sanders is still there and thankfully healthy. Many believe now that Colorado will still remain a contender in the Big 12 this season. Maybe it could even be better than the team that went 9-4 last year. But I am not so sure. Look, I know it might be kind of hard, but we've got to use common sense. We've got to think logically when it comes to Colorado. This team, they were fun to watch, right? They were very fun to watch. Deion Sanders did a great job revitalizing this program, not just on the field, but also off the field. A big fan of what he's done for this program. But this is not a playoff team. This is not a Big 12 title contending team. Last year, Colorado went 9-4, 9-3 in the regular season. Easily could have been a 7-5 regular season, which still isn't bad, but they only beat North Dakota State out of the FCS by 5, and they need a miracle against Baylor to win that game in overtime. Of the 9 wins that Colorado had last year, only 4 of them came against teams with a winning record. 2 of them were against North Dakota State and Colorado State, a middle-of-the-pack Mountain West squad. The other 2 were against Baylor, miraculous, and Texas Tech, which was a very impressive performance on the road. They lost to Nebraska, they lost to Kansas State, they lost to Kansas, they lost to BYU in dominant fashion in their bowl game. Even go back till 2023, Deion Sanders' first year there. The Buffaloes went 4-8. None of those 4 wins were against a team with a winning record. So in 2 years under Deion Sanders, Colorado is 13-12, which to me isn't worth getting your number retired, but whatever. 13-12 in 2 years. Only 4 of those 13 wins have come against teams with a winning record. They are 1-7 against ranked opponents. The only win coming in that opener back in 2023 over TCU, who ended up finishing the year, 5-7? And now they lose tons of talent. Think logically. You now lose tons of talent. You can't beat anybody with a winning record. Colorado's been fun to watch. They've been a good team, but they haven't been as good as people want them to be. Now, on offense, you lose your star quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. You lose your top 4 pass catchers that accounted for 32 of the 37 passing touchdowns last year. The offensive line is still an absolute mess. Gave up 43 sacks last year. Only averaged 65 rushing yards per game, which the year before they weren't good at rushing the ball either. Now, you're either going to start a 17-year-old quarterback in Julian Lewis, who has a lot of talent, a lot of potential, but still a lot of questions for a 17-year-old, or Caden Salter, who's a great pickup from Liberty, was phenomenal in 2023, but not so much in 2024, but regardless, threw for over 5,800 yards in 3 years with the Flames. Again, you lose all those pass catchers. Draylon Miller does return, 277 yards, 3 touchdowns last year. Marion Miller returns. They add Joseph Williams in from Tulsa, had over 500 yards receiving last year. Hakeem Williams comes in from Florida State. And don't sleep on Sincere Brown, who had 1,000 reception yards last year at Campbell. So there's some talent there, no doubt, but certainly some questions. Defensively, give them a lot of props. This team improved drastically last year. 34.8 points per game allowed in 2023. Dropped that to 23.1 in 2024. So Colorado's defense improved by 11.7 points per game. They gave up 453 yards in 2023. They dropped that to 352 last year. So improved by 11.7 points per game, improved by 101 yards per game. And they were phenomenal. Plus 12 on the turnover margin, 39 sacks, only gave up 201 passing yards per game. It was a really impressive year. But now they lose 8 starters from last year's squad. They lose 4 of their top 5 tacklers. There is talent there. The defensive line has Arden Walker. He had 4.5 sacks last year. Jaheim Otis coming in from Alabama is a big pickup. Tavian Coleman comes in from Texas State. So defensive line should be okay. I really like the linebacking core. Martavius French in from UTSA, where he was a second-team American Athletic Conference selection. Reggie Hughes comes in, first-team All-Selection in the Conference USA from Jacksonville State. And the secondary has some talent, namely DJ McKinney, who had 3 picks last year, was 4th on the team in tackles, and Tyrekus Davis comes in from Wyoming as well. We've known Deion Sanders to be a coach that utilizes the transfer portal very, very well. He has done that again this year, has added some decent talent. But again, when you lose your top 2 playmakers, you lose your star quarterback, your top wide receiver, and your top defensive player in Travis Hunter, with a much more difficult schedule than you've had. You haven't proven you can beat good teams. They really haven't. Anybody that thinks Colorado's going to top their 9-win total last year or still be as good as they were last year is kidding themselves. you have to think logically. And you look at the schedule now, and it is brutal. I mean, just look at it. They open the year against Georgia Tech. That's a dang good team. On the road at TCU, they draw Iowa State and Arizona State, the two teams that played in the Big 12 championship. They have to go on the road to Utah and on the road to Kansas State. So they draw the top 4 teams in the conference with the exception of Baylor, who's in that mix, in a very difficult opening game against Georgia Tech. So again, guys, the track record really isn't there. They now lose all of that talent. Colorado is taking a step back. Let's see by how much. Georgia Tech, season opener, Friday night. Going to be a great, great game. I love they got home field advantage here. It's going to be an opportunity for us to get on the national stage a new look offense for Colorado. How this team looks without Shedeur Sanders. How they look without Travis Hunter. But they're going to lose this game. Georgia Tech is that good. And I'm at high on the Yellow Jackets. Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, really good wide receiver core. 7 starters back on defense. Georgia Tech averaged 187 rushing yards per game last year. Colorado's defense gave up over 150. They've also got a fairly strong secondary as well. So a new quarterback, regardless of who Colorado starts against an experienced defense, a defense that loses their 8 starters from last year going up against this experience of an offense, Georgia Tech overcomes that home field advantage. The Yellow Jackets get the win. Colorado 0-1. They will beat Delaware, who's an FBS program now, so that's not an FCS win. So they are 1-1. Then they go on the road to Houston. Houston on a Friday night. And this is an interesting game to me. This is a Houston team that should improve quite a bit in year 2 under Willie Fritz. They were very competitive last year, all things considered. If they had a sliver of an offense, Houston goes bowling. Instead, they go 4-8. Now they do have an offense. Connor Wigman is in. Their running back returns. Better wide receiver core. And their defense was 12th in the nation last year. Houston had, despite the losing record, one of the best defenses in the country and has an opportunity to be just as good this year. One of the strengths for the Cougars is their secondary, one that gave up just 189 passing yards per game. So I look at this game. Colorado coming on the road to Houston on a short week with still some questions at quarterback against a very experienced secondary. We know the Buffaloes really don't have much of a running game, so it doesn't seem to line up well for a win on the road at Houston. I'm going to give the Cougars the win here. Colorado 1-2, not a great start, but they bounce back with 2 straight wins over Wyoming, over BYU. Both are at home to get to 3-2. BYU, of course, the toughest of those two. Kind of a revenge spot for Colorado. They got torched, annihilated by BYU in their bowl game, 36-14. But BYU this early in the year, about a month in, but still dealing with life without Jake Retzlaff. A lot of off-the-field drama, off-the-field issues that I'm curious to see how it impacts his program. They do have some talent elsewhere. They've got their top running back, their top wide receiver, decent defense. But I do think Colorado's able to get this win at home. I do think their defensive line, that front 7 that I talked about, can do just enough against a quarterback that really wasn't expecting to start, whoever BYU chooses. They got to defend their home field a little bit. And I do think while Colorado has questions at quarterback, the offense will get better and better with each passing week. That's what you expect with a new guy, especially if they end up starting Juju Lewis, who is inexperienced, very young, but will grow with every single snap. So they're 3-2, 5 games through the year, but before they go into their bye week, I think they drop 2 straight to be 3-4. I don't see this team beating TCU. Yes, I know they beat TCU on the road 2 years ago, the first game of the Deion Sanders era, and they won that game over number 17 TCU. The only ranked win Deion Sanders has at Colorado, won that game 45-42. It was a massive upset considering TCU was also the national runner-up the year prior. But now the Horned Frogs are in a much better spot, I feel like. They lost so much from that year prior. They've got Josh Hoover coming back, who threw for nearly 4,000 yards. They've got 8 starters back on defense. A lot of talent for this TCU team, and maybe Sonny Dykes at least hungry to avenge that upset loss they suffered 2 years ago. So I think TCU is clearly the better team here. They're going to get the job done. And then Iowa State, one of the best teams. This may be a trap game for the Cyclones. Coming on the road to Boulder, I don't think that's an easy place to play. Iowa State maybe already taken a loss or two, who knows, before this game, so you have to worry about that. If you're the Cyclones, obviously the pressure's going to be on for a team that has playoff expectations. So this would be a perfect trap game for Colorado to pull off the upset. Just don't see it happening. They have their quarterback returning in Rocco Beck. They've got their top 2 rushers coming back. I think the transfer wide receivers will continue to gel as the year goes on. The defense for Iowa State is still going to be one of the best within the conference. And again, that gives me concerns with some questions on Colorado's offense. So Colorado drops that game. They're 3-4 going into their bye week, and they'll be 3-5 with a road loss to Utah because the Utes will be that good. So everybody's going to say, we beat Utah 49-24 last year. There's no way they beat us now. Utah was not the same team last year. Utah is much better than they were last year. Every week we didn't know who was going to be at quarterback for the Utes. They were just horrendous on both sides of the ball, but yet still very competitive in the majority of their games. They went, 5-7? Easily could have been an 8-win season had they had just a little bit better of an offense. Now you're going on the road to Salt Lake City, which is a very difficult place to play. They've got competent quarterback play now in Devin Dampier, and you won't have that carousel or questions every single week. The offensive line is one of the best in the nation. The defense will be one of the best in the nation. So Utah's got the much better team. They've got the better coach in Kyle Whittingham. Home field advantage. They get the win 3-5, meaning with a third of the season left to go, Colorado's got to find 3 wins. 3 wins in their final 4 games if they want to get back to the postseason. They're going to win their next 2. Arizona will not be that good this year. Colorado won by 30 points last year. I know both teams are looking very different, but I'm not sold on Brent Brennan. I'm not sold on Noah Fafita right now. I'm not sold on Arizona's defense, which was not good at all. So at home, needing to stop the bleeding, they get the win over the Wildcats. And I think they do go on the road and get a win at West Virginia. To me, this is a very big toss-up game. Could really see it going either way. But from an experience standpoint, Colorado's got it. The West Virginia offensive line has some major questions. And this is a game where I think that Colorado front seven, which I am a fan of, can exploit that West Virginia offensive line, can pressure whoever the Mountaineers choose to start at quarterback. The Buffaloes also have proven they're not too afraid to play on the road, right? They're 6-6 in 2 years in true road games under Deion Sanders, but they went 4-2 on the road last year. So a lot of people are going to point to Morgantown, a tough place to play, things like that. I don't think they're going to be really afraid to play there. And I think Colorado does have enough better talent, I think, on both sides to get this win, meaning they're 5-5, meaning just 1 win in their final 2 games to go bowling. And they come out of that bye week and they're playing 2 of the best teams within the conference against Arizona State and on the road at Kansas State. 2 teams that could be in the hunt for a Big 12 title berth or even a playoff berth by this point in the season. I'm going to tell you, I don't think Colorado can beat either of them. I don't. Now, some people might say, oh, come on, you got to give us one upset win in there. Maybe so. I don't see it. I think Arizona State is that good. This defense is elite. 9 starters back from last year's squad that made the college football playoff and won the Big 12. I don't see Colorado having much success offensively against them, and then the defense is going to have to bring their A game to stop Sam Levitt and Kanye Udo from Army, which is a huge pickup at running back. Just because they lost Cam Scatterboot doesn't mean they've fallen off. Jordan Tyson's a 1,000-yard receiver coming back. Arizona State is the real deal. They're going to have all the pieces ready for this. Don't think Colorado can hang with them. And then on the road at Kansas State, a tough place to play in Manhattan. The Buffaloes dropped a heartbreaker, lost 31-28 last year. They allowed 185 rushing yards in that game to the Wildcats. Now, mobile quarterback Avery Johnson returns. Dylan Edwards is back. They've got a really good receiver core. The defense is one of the best in the Big 12. This is just a really good conference with some very elite teams. And Colorado, unfortunately, draws 2 of the best in back-to-back weeks, in weeks where they need to win the most. They dropped the game in Manhattan. They finished the year 5-7. So 4-8 in 2023 to 9-4 last year to 5-7 this year. I think the Buffaloes are competitive throughout this season. I really do. And maybe you think they can get to a bowl game with a win over Houston. Maybe you think they pull off an upset over Iowa State or Arizona State, winning one of those big home games against an elite opponent. But right now, again, I can't pick them to do that. 13 wins in 2 years, only 4 against teams that finished with a winning record. 2 of those were against an FCS team and a Mountain West team. I don't really think I can buy into that. I can't pick them to beat Iowa State, who could be a top 15 team, or Arizona State, who could be a top 10 team. I can't pick them to do that. I think Colorado's ceiling is probably 7-5, because maybe they beat Houston. Maybe they find a way to beat TCU or Georgia Tech even in the opener. But to think they can replicate a 9-3 season after losing so much with a very difficult schedule, when they have shown us in 2 years with that type of talent that we all praise that they couldn't even win those big games, I don't know why anybody would think they can do it now with a less experienced squad, tougher schedule, all the odds and cards stacked against them. There's no hate against Colorado, nothing against Colorado, but you have to think logically when it comes to this program and know that inevitably they are taking a step back this year. 5-7 for the Buffaloes in 2025. Best case scenario, I think, is 7-5. A bowl game, I think, would be phenomenal, especially for a program that has struggled for so long. But ultimately, a semi-disappointing season up in Boulder. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Do not miss out on those. A link for that, again, down in the description below, as well as our weekly newsletters, also over on thegridironexpert.com. Don't miss out on those either. Become a member of our GE Nation today. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.